It really has been a shocking day in our nation's capital. We mentioned before about what everybody thought was a resolution to keep the government open, and the president throws a monkey wrench in the 11th hour. Now, he has blindsided his own national security team when he suddenly woke up out of bed and decided that he's going to withdraw U.S. troops from Syria. And of course, he did it with a tweet saying, "We've defeated ISIS, so it's time to come home." That, of course, news to the Pentagon, not just the coming home, but also that ISIS was completely finished. Trump's move also appears to be the last straw for Defense Secretary James Mattis, one of the few remaining adults that started with this administration. The general, he is stepping down effective February, saying his views are not aligned with Trump's. In fact, I read his resignation letter. He goes on to say he believes standing with allies and against enemies is important, and he thinks the president should find someone who sees the world more his way. Just think about that for a minute. Anyway, in the meantime, the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is not aligned with Trump on Syria. General Joseph Dunford said earlier this month that the U.S. military has a long way to go to complete our mission in Syria. So take that as a grain of salt with where we are now. Plus, last month, National Security Advisor John Bolton, he said we wouldn't leave until Iranian troops are still in the air, as long as they're still in the area or on Syria's borders. The Iranians, they're still there. And how about Secretary of State Mike Pompeo? He said nearly exactly the same thing less than 3 months ago. Now, just 6 days ago, the Pentagon issued the following statement, quote, "We remain committed to working with our partners on the ground to ensure an enduring defeat of ISIS. Any reports indicating a change in the U.S. position with respect to these efforts is false and designed to sow confusion and chaos." That was less than a week ago. Now, they're all Trump appointees, all of them. They all said this, and the president said, "No, war's over. We beat the enemy. We're coming home." Now, it's not just the folks in his administration. Just about every Republican, short of Rand Paul, is livid about this. Take a listen to just a couple of angry GOP senators.
This is a stain on the honor of the United States. I hope and pray the president will reconsider this. I know that every national security advisor understands that the time is not right to withdraw.
I believe it is a catastrophic mistake that will have grave consequences for the United States, for our interests, and for our allies in the months and years to come.
Of course, President Trump wouldn't let Lindsey Graham's comments go without responding. Here, again, Trump's tweet. "So hard to believe that Lindsey Graham would be against saving soldiers' lives and billions of dollars. Why are we fighting for our enemy Syria by staying and killing ISIS for them, Russia, Iran, and other locals? Time to focus on our country and bring our youth back home where they belong." I should mention that Lindsey Graham did serve in the military and has been in armed services forever in the Senate here. I think he's got a clue of what he's talking. And by the way, we did ask our allies, and we've asked the Kurds to basically stick their necks out for us. So they're going to be the ones we'd leave behind as well. But why let facts get in the way of a fictitious story? Anyway, earlier today, before the news of Mattis broke, I spoke with New York Congressman Tom Reed, Republican from Western New York, about all of this. He represents New York's 23rd district. Syria, it seemed that everybody was caught off guard, except seemingly the president by his announcement that ISIS had been defeated and that we were bringing our troops home. I mean, it was as of this Monday, Congressman, where James Jeffrey, the U.S. Special Representative for Syria, our representative said that ISIS, in fact, was not beaten and that we could not roll back our presence there in short order. A complete 180 48 hours later. To that end, I want to play just a couple clips here of fellow Republicans, including your colleague, Congressman Kinzinger, as well as Lindsey Graham in the Senate. Let's take a listen.
This came out of left field to me. Congress hasn't been informed of this decision. We're going to be seen as having abandoned an ally. Good luck getting somebody to help you fight this war in the future. Iran's going to be really happy, and the ISIS folks who got a shot in the arm.
I'm speechless today. Fighting terrorism is not a choice we have. It's just a question of where. Do we fight them there or do we fight them here? This makes no sense to me. I cannot put anything into words about why this makes any sense. It's emboldening Iran. It's emboldening Bashar al-Assad, but it's definitely emboldening ISIS, our sworn enemy.
And I know, Congressman, you've seen some of the reaction, albeit unsourced, from senior military, where this came out of, as I said, left field. They gave opposite counsel, and the assessment of what they see on the ground versus what the president said are two completely different worlds. And they're also, frankly, concerned about what message it sends to the Kurds, who we'd be leaving behind, who stuck their necks out upon our insistence. What was your reaction when your president said, in effect, mission accomplished, we're coming home?
Well, you know, as I've taken the position before, I did not support troops in Syria when the issue was raised with the Obama administration. And I think the decision to bring our folks, men and women, home is a sound decision. Now, that doesn't mean we abandon the fight against ISIS. You know, we got 2,000 troops is what we're talking about in regards to an advisory role in Syria. What we can do is accomplish the mission and continue the mission against ISIS, and we can bring our men and women home at the same time. That, to me, is a winning combination. And I've always said, you know, why are we putting men and women in our armed forces in harm's way if we don't have a strategy about when do we disengage from these engagements? And I think this is prudent, and I think over time it will be proven the right call.
The people who are supporting it, at least, include Vladimir Putin, who praises Donald Trump. It's believed that the Russians and the Iranians and the Turks, who have obviously long-standing grudges with our allies in terms of the Kurds that are up there, they're the ones most pleased about it. In the U.S. Senate, per a head count right now, with the exception of Rand Paul, not one Republican U.S. senator is supporting a rapid withdrawal and drawdown that the president has said is going to be part of the policy. Again, I guess my question, Congressman, is even if we didn't like the war or the original mission, shouldn't we rely on our military experts on the ground instead of going with the quote-unquote gut reaction that's not really based off of any intelligence?
Yeah, this is not a gut reaction. I think withdrawing these troops is appropriate. You know, the question of having our men and women on Syrian soil that was put to us in an open way by the Obama administration was met with a resounding no here in Congress. And so I think what you need to keep in focus is how are we going to attack ISIS going forward? And having 2,000 men and women in harm's way on that soil, to me, just doesn't make sense at this point in time. What we can do is protect these men and women, bring them home, but continue to offer air support, intelligence, covert operations, and resources to stand with our allies to take this on. And Putin shouldn't be happy here. Putin also should be sent the message that we're not leaving the fight, we're continuing the fight, but we're taking our men and women out of harm's way.
Well, his exact line was, Donald, great job. But Congressman Reed, I appreciate the time, and have a great holidays for yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care. Merry Christmas.
When we come back, we're going to take a look at the Clinton impeachment. Believe it or not, it happened nearly 20 years ago to the very day. We're also going to try and compare it, what happened then to what is happening now in Washington. A senior editor at the Washington Post, he joins us to compare and contrast.